Hi everyone. Today's video is going to tell you a little bit more about myself, about my journey, mainly about when I woke up to what we have today as this matrix that we live in. My awakening, I would pinpoint it to maybe a month after 9/11, because just like most people, I believed the news. I believed everything they said about the event that day, the events that took place with the planes, with the terrorists, with Osama bin Laden. I believed everything, and I was pretty much glued to the TV most of the time. It made me numb almost. It was like I was in shock, I would say. I think I was really in shock, like most people. But the awakening came kind of as a result of that. I remember Oprah Winfrey was hosting, it was sort of like an interfaith ceremony, and all of the world religions were present, accounted for. They had different religious leaders come up and sort of as a symbol of unity, like, you know, we're going to put aside our differences, one America, and really even one world at that point in time. And it just struck me as odd because I was, of course, being a Christian, a Bible believer, I wondered what having an interfaith, you know, ceremony, religious ceremony, what that had to do with anything. I felt that maybe as citizens of the United States, yes, we could come together and just, you know, say we are confused, we're angry, we want to unite, come together against the forces of evil. Or against terrorism. You know, we want to keep our freedoms. But it just struck me as odd that they were going the religious route, and I knew that just from prior readings and research about Antichrist, and I really didn't get into the whole one world government and New World Order agenda until maybe a couple of months after that period of time, when I did realize I was actually on the site cuttingedge.org, and they have a lot of prophetic timelines. They look at news events and then they correlate them to the Bible as far as prophetic times. So I was definitely deep into that, and it basically confirmed my suspicions of the whole, you know, let's break bread together and kumbaya, because what that represented was the New World government will also have a New World Order religion, one world religion, where everyone comes together to worship a god. Now, who that god is will definitely fall under Antichrist and the false prophet. And it just seemed like that was the biggest push, you know, like, let's not be concerned about our differences. Let's just come together and join and have this religious event to unite everyone and their beliefs. Okay, so that was the start, the beginning for me. And then as I continued to study and research and dig deeper, I understood. And then also, when my husband and I went, this was, after 2001, I wasn't married. I got married in 2004. I remember at the airport, and of course how everything had changed, that civilians, U.S. citizens, we had to undergo so many rigorous, you know, security checks, pat downs, had to be searched, had to, you know, you couldn't take liquids, you couldn't take water or shampoo. All of the things that had changed so quickly, all of our freedoms and things that we used to could do, we could no longer do freely. And everyone was a suspect. And I just remembered while being in the airport, all the announcements were like, if you see anyone who looks suspicious, please report them. If you see anyone who looks suspicious, and it was just constantly going over the intercom. And I was thinking, well, clearly the terrorists are not going to look like the traditional terrorists, of what we're expecting to see. That is obviously not what happened to the quote-unquote terrorists of 9/11, which of course during that time I was still kind of on the fence about who was really behind it. I felt strongly that the United States had more to do with it than they were saying. Of course, today I know that it was truly an inside job and that it was all the U.S. government. But at that time, I was just thinking, well, if it was a terrorist, they are not going to clearly be dressed in the garb that you would relate and that you would correlate with a terrorist. So it was then that I was even more just convinced that everything with 9/11 was nothing more but to take away our freedoms, take away our rights, keep us in fear, always looking around, too afraid, and then wanting the government to become bigger than what they should be, so that nothing like that could ever happen again, and that is ultimately what they wanted. So, of course, through the years, over the 10 plus years since then, I have definitely still been very deep in just every type of thing that, I'm not even going to say conspiracy, I'm going to say truth that has yet to be revealed, because of course the truth has been hidden and it's been being suppressed by the powers because of the fact that they do want this New World Order government, and they work for the Rothschild family. They are in subjection to Satan himself. And the world powers that have come together, they have determined that, yes, we're going to have one world government, one world religion, and everyone must be on board. So, which brings me to, just over the past years, of course, with gun violence increasing and school shootings, church shootings, and not knowing what to believe. And sort of like 9/11, I just had that feeling of, no, something is not right about this. Something is definitely not right about this. And then, of course, learning about the crisis actors and people who are just paid to go to these events and act like victims, to act like they were in a shooting, a mass shooting, and then they came out on the other side, and all the things that they are doing now to just basically take away our right to bear arms. And because every day there is something else that is gun related that has to do with some lone shooter who went into a facility and just started killing people, but it just reminds me that, yeah, what their ultimate agenda is with martial law is to take away all of our rights, and the first thing they have to do is to disarm everyone and to make us in subjection to them. They'll say, well, the military is here to protect you, the police are here to protect you, and on the surface, that is what they tell us. That is, what most people believe to be true, even those who are in the service or on the force. But I know that they have, the ones who are legit, who really did join for the right reasons to really serve and protect the civilians and the citizens of the states, of the local, state, and national governments. These are the people who have seen, I'm sure, a lot of changes within the organization to show that the people, the voice of the people is being silenced, the rights are being taken away, and that more power is being given to the military, the police, to come in under the authority of the government to do whatever they are told. What that is, we've seen how in these dystopian books and movies, what happens. They want to turn society into a slave society. They want to turn us into slaves. And, of course, they talk about the FEMA camps. They talk about how they are just waiting for that big event to happen so that they can crash the economy and make it so that you can't buy or sell unless you take the mark of the beast, which is further down the road. And all of this to say that the hope, the blessed hope as a Christian, is that I know how this is going to end. Jesus wins. He's already won. But these events must play out. And as Bible believers, as believers, we must stand together and believe what the Bible says, to know the times that we're in. To know the times of thy visitation, to know how everything is basically related to each other. And they're all connected. Everything is connected. And no matter what we're going through with the economy, jobs, the prison system, gun control, religions that are false, all of the things that are happening within the church now, all these scandals, false teachers, false prophets, people who, the ministers who are in power only want money, money, money. All of these things are to deliberately not just undermine, but to destroy the very foundations of our society. Of course, the school system. So when we think how things are in schools, the economy, churches, and the military, just anything that affects our lives, they are in it. They want to deliberately destroy the foundations. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. They are deliberately crashing their own society, dumbing down the schools, firing good teachers, closing schools, but building more prisons. Knowing that not being educated, dropping out of school, things like that, that is what leads to crime, more crime. So they have to make the conditions so unbearable so that they want to create criminals. They want to take away things and force the people to commit crimes so that they can come in and say, oh, well, this is what we have to do. We have to officially declare martial law, and no one can do this or that, and they take away the rights of everyone. Look what the internet, freedom of speech is out the window. So all of our freedoms, all of our rights, all have to take a back seat to the next big event that they have already orchestrated, that they have created so that they can, quote unquote, solve the problem with their solution that they want to implement. So I just want us to remember to keep our eyes open at all times, to not trust everything you see, test everything. The Bible says to test the spirits, but we have to test everything, test all things. If they say it's one way, look into it, check it out, research it. See if it, if it's true. Talk to people, communicate, and that's the other thing. They want us to not talk to people because they want us so into our devices. Ask Alexa, but ask Alexa. Don't ask that person right over there who's standing right beside you. You just become so detached from other people to be like a lone island almost. So these are just some thoughts that I've had, and some I wanted to kind of share more in depth how I got on my journey and started making videos, and how I became a person who believes the earth is flat. In other words, believing what the Bible says. Everything that has been told, the source comes from the Bible, as far as knowing how to measure and the standard that these things have to be tested against, and how they're weighed. Because if you're not measuring these things by the standard of God and things that are in the Bible, then yeah, it is very easy to be deceived. And even then, we have to pray that we're not deceived, because so many people who claim to be believers are in fact still deceived about a lot of things that science tells us, pseudoscience tells us, and they still believe that evolution can exist, that God can use evolution. That he did use evolution to create people as we are today. So we know that the strong delusion is here. God sent it because he wants his people to be discerning. He wants us to use what he's given us and to discern and to know the times that we're in. To know the times that we're in. Well, that will do it for this video. And I, as always, thank you so much for watching, for supporting me, those of you who have subscribed, and anyone who has not. I pray that if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be my newest subscriber. Okay, well, until the next time, you all take care and God bless you. Bye-bye.